Now, this is where it gets complicated, because what I want to do with this set is actually to have a quite substantial piece of it be removable. I've done that with smaller items before on other sets, particularly with the main exterior. The front door is a removable component so that it can swing open. Draw the whole thing as a pencil sketch directly onto the main piece of paper, but then when I come to ink it, the door isn't inked. That has to be traced over as a separate element and then made to fit back in, and then that has to be repeated. I think there were 4 of them. I've got 4 different versions of the door in different stages of its swing. This is going to be on a different scale because it's almost half the set needs to be a removable piece. The actual environment is just a ground line with a few scrubby bits of vegetation on it, so really not very much to it. But the main focus of the set is going to be this big shed in the middle, which I don't know how well this is showing up on camera, but I've sketched the shed where I want it in the middle of the set. So what I'm going to have to do before I get too carried away with the inking is going to be to make a new element with basically that exact drawing on a separate piece of paper. So I've sketched the outline here, and then it's basically a case of cutting it out. If in doubt, leave more paper there so you can trim it further down if necessary. Obviously you don't want to go too far the other way and find you've chopped off material you actually wanted, because that's kind of irreversible when you're using these things. There's no Control Z with a physical pair of scissors. And then once I've got that matched up properly to the size and shape of the existing shed drawing on the main set, then obviously this can all be rubbed out. We'll probably just leave 1 or 2 very small dots of ink at the corners, just so I can align it properly. But basically all of the pencil sketch version of the shed on this piece of paper will be erased. Now mainly I'm doing that so that if I decide at a later date, we want to do a storyline where the shed is removed for whatever reason, it's in a wooden structure, it might catch fire, I don't know. But if for whatever reason we wanted a version of this environment without the shed, or with a modified version of the shed, then rather than redoing the entire set and trying to match up all the details with background vegetation, then I can simply take off the shed element and, if necessary, lay in a different shed. So that's why I'm doing this, even though it is a bit of a faff. Moment of truth. That, believe it or not, is the beginnings of the shed. So that's the shed again. A bit more refined pencil detailing, so I'm getting a better idea there of the shape that it actually wants to be. So you can see it's going to have to be trimmed off around there, obviously. Just here, I was very, very close. There's really, that bit just there, I'm going to have to trim practically nothing, because it's very close to where it needed to be already. And obviously I don't want to trim all that off, because that's where one of the cardboard fins is going to go. Very strange shed with cardboard stabiliser fins going on here, which is all Tim's fault, and will be explained when the episode is released. There's more progress on the shed. All these lines are still pencil, but those are pretty much where they're going to be. More progress to do around the roof, obviously, but that's, at least in terms of the bottom edge, well, the lower half, that is definitely getting there now. Now, on a related note, I think I've got to the point now where I could actually start inking. Terrible dilemma at this point. Do I use the number 3, the number 5, or the number 7? different pen for a different purpose. This one is probably actually supposed to make thicker lines than it does, but I think it's drying up a bit. But even in its old age and decrepitude, it is actually quite useful because it comes in handy for doing the finer shading, especially around areas like the horizon, which is what I'm about to use it for. Next round of progress, you can see all the inking this end of the set is now pretty much done. I need to do a bit more on that for the vegetation around here where it starts to overlap under the shed. Haven't done the vegetation at this end yet, and obviously there's still a chunk of the ground missing in the middle, which I'll probably leave until the shed is more developed. I've actually started removing the shed pencil work along the bottom edge where the cutout is more complete. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to see it from there, but there are two tiny little ink dots just there, which hopefully small enough that they'll be inconspicuous on camera, but they are there, and their job is I can line up the bottom two corners of the shed, and it fits into place. So there you've got the back end of the shed, pretty much exactly where it was in the original sketch, but on a different piece of paper, so it can be removed if necessary.
Oh, I didn't think of that.